Mr. Micah Kritzman, LA Internet Marketing. Here
All right, good morning. So I have this amazing TV here. I'm going to show you websites. And so this time we're going to actually answer your questions. I always try and get some of the, what I feel are the important questions, but I went through and I pulled almost every question off, just kind of made some bullet points about them. So let's kind of go top down and read through as far as we get. So I went to Cal State Northridge. I studied business. And I was there during the earthquake. I watched the campus crumble. I went from having classrooms to having trailers, to having classrooms to having classes at trees, literally outside. It was quite the experience. After that, I went through a professional certification course to become a Microsoft certified systems engineer. And I started an IT company. I've always had a challenge of getting hired. Like, it always come down to me and somebody else and the other person get the job. So finally, one day I was like, you know what? I can just control everything. I'll just go work for myself. So I started an IT company, ran it for about a year, and was not enjoying much of any of it. And that's when I threw away IT and said, okay, I'm going to do my other passion, which is web. And IT, I wouldn't say was a passion, but computers were. So in 1987, I took my bar mitzvah money, I bought a computer. In 1988, my buddy loaned me his old modem, and I started dialing in other computers. And very early on, I saw the value of what could be connected. I saw this future, and as things like Prodigy or AOL became more mainstream, I started asking the question, why isn't the average user, the average homeowner on technology like this? But then the internet came, and now look around, like, who doesn't have internet access? In third world countries, they've got better cell service and better mobile internet access than we have here in America. So literally, you go to Afghanistan, they got better cell coverage and faster internet than we have here. 95% of the population's on mobile. America, we're still about 50-50 between desktop and mobile. So I grew up in a family business. I worked in every distinction in that company, from sweeping floors to packing product, credit collections, sales, trade shows. And there was nothing in the business that I ever could own as my thing. And as the internet became available, it was, hey, I could build websites. More importantly, is I can get my dad online with his factories in China, and we could turn a process of, let's say, 3 months from a design coming from our artists going to China to a product going on a boat coming in to us having a sample of your product and the customer saying, go into production, to we could email the art file, and that day they could make a sample product and send us digital photos that were in the customer's hands. And for probably 95% or more of the customers my dad was working with, a picture was sufficient. They could see the quality, they could see the colors, it transformed. So for me, it was all just about having something in their business that I could own. Worst client. I've had a lot of awesome clients. What makes a client challenging is getting projects done, is waiting on them or dealing with their technology. So I worked with a very large HOA out here called the Woodlands Community, and I had built a website for them for about half of what I should have. Their management company managed, at the time, 105 properties. And I saw the opportunity to build a relationship with the company, not necessarily the HOA. And it took about 6 months for me to get the work done, because I had to literally go photo their property for them because they couldn't give me photography. I had to recreate their logo for them in Vector because they couldn't give me a logo. And these are things I never got paid for or compensated for. And then I gave them the files because I felt I don't need them, they should have them, and I'm a nice guy. So I give them the files. And then we go to bring the website live, and they have a technology provider that they're partnered with that does their accounting and their communications and maintenance requests for the properties. And they could never give us the proper technical information to make our website work with their domains. And it wasn't on me, but I took the blame. And at about a year in, 14, 15 months in, they sent me a letter saying they're terminating the contract and not paying me the balance. At which point I got upset and I battled them. and they had a board member start dealing with the technical aspect, and he failed worse than me and caused more damage for them than I did, at which point they realized that I wasn't the one at fault. I delivered the goods, but it was their technology provider who was at fault, and ultimately they paid me my money. Then that website never launched, and I'm bummed for them that they're out their $2,500 and have nothing to show for it. But that's what makes a customer bad for me, is somebody that's willing to give me a contract and the money but not follow up with their commitment to get it done. And a $2,500 3-4 week project shouldn't last 2 years, ever. And that's why I'm like, no, I'm building team, because I need to have somebody who can write the copy, build the brand, do the videos, so that I can collectively take all the resources I need and just build it, and not be waiting on the customers constantly for the rest of my life for stuff. I provide ongoing maintenance for my customers that need it. It's not something I require. Many of my competitors have a requirement. I'll build your website, but then you have to give me 1 or 2 hours of labor every month guaranteed in a contract. I'm not that guy. Most of my customers don't update their websites very often. I can show them how to make a backup and run their software updates. As long as they do it, say 3-4 times a year, they're probably never gonna get hacked. And if they do, they have backups. I can salvage everything in 20-30 minutes, bill them for 40 or 50 bucks, and life moves on. So it's up to the customer. Now, what I would say is if a customer has constant need for changes, so I got a client in Chatsworth, Mexican restaurant. They're constantly putting promotions, updating. We've got e-blasts that we do. So they have me on retainer. Chambers of Commerce, they put me on retainer because they don't want their staff to have to deal with problems. They just want to have a safety net. So if they have updates of content, functionality, adding products, dealing with whatever, that's where I get in the middle of. So software updates, software backups, content updates, new functionality, troubleshooting problems, because eventually if the software isn't updated, problems are going to happen. Or eventually the underlying technologies that power the website might have advanced beyond maybe some of your technology, and now all of a sudden some of your technology doesn't work. So last night we launched a new website for very nice 2 business partners, and they're both like in their 70s, and they're speech pathologists, and they're one of the most sought after they're 2 of the most sought after speech pathologists in the nation. And like they work with AFI and they work with a lot of actors, and so their website got to a point where I started noticing I couldn't administer the back end. And then in May, their buy functionality stopped working altogether. So we just rebuilt and relaunched yesterday. It just got to a point where rather than trying to keep band-aiding this 8-9-year-old technology, it was trying to revamp it. So we revamped it. Hacking remediation is another thing, and it's very time-consuming to get hackers out. So your best first line of defense is keeping the software updated. How I work with customers, I had 3 questions that get the same answer. So how I work with customers on a tight budget, what I recommend for small businesses, and what's the basic foundation for a website. And all the above is come prepared. In all the years of my doing my business, I've had literally 1 customer come to me with a Word document with all the content laid out for his entire website before I built it, how he envisioned the calls to action, where things would have bullets, where things would have contact forms. He did all the intellectual thinking of the user interface and the user experience. I built him in a couple weeks for half as much as I would have built them had I not have to. So number 1 is come prepared. Know your content, your pages, your functionality. Know the scope of the navigation. Have your images together and have large high resolution images. I can scale them down, but I can't bring them bigger. I can't scale them out without losing fidelity. Having your logos in vector, so I'm not having to chase you down for the resources I need. That's how you as a small business can come prepared and get a cheaper price. I literally will give 50-60% off the more prepared you come. Because if it's 100% of what I need right here and all I have to do is build it, great, a week or 2 done. There's no back and forth for 2 years hoping I could get it done. All right, fundamentals of how to increase your current web presence starts with the foundation of SEO. Your images are sized, meaning they're not really big and we're showing them small. They're saved small and shown at the size they're saved. Google dings you for scaling images down. Images are optimized. So if it's 100 kilobytes and it could be 60, it should be 60. H1 tags, H2 tags, those are your header tags. Google looks at those in your copy. So your big headlines should be H1s, your sub-headlines are H2, and have enough content that Google can understand who you are. No GoDaddy for hosting. Your web host can slow you down by double, triple. Don't want to host with somebody that's going to slow you down. Google will ding you for that. And I'm available for coaching. So I got 98% through the list. Thank you guys.
Well done.